Hello, guys. Nat Blue here, and I did not upload a Nat News yesterday. Mostly because there's not a lot of news that I personally care about going on right now. If I'm being honest, it's not a very busy news week for me. So instead, I wanted to take a moment to talk about four movies that I have recently watched. Two of these came out this year, as in like within the last month, honestly. And then two of them did not even come out in 2025. They're a little bit older. So, to kick us off, before we take too much time on this, is Novocaine. I just saw Novocaine. It just came out, I think, a week or two ago, and I just watched it. And overall, I would say this is a decent movie. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody that's a little bit too squeamish. If you're not a big fan of seeing blood in movies, of just seeing gore, like you see bone, you see a lot of stuff in this movie that might deter some people from seeing it. Overall, as an action movie, it is incredible. I loved it. All of the actors did well. Jack Quaid knocked it out of the park. Jacob Batalon, is it Batalon or Batalon? Or I don't know how you would pronounce his last name, did really well. But he wasn't in the movie for as long as I expected him to be. The trailer shows him in the trailer, so I expected him to be in the movie for a decent amount of time, and he's barely in the movie. So that was a little bit disappointing. I really like that actor, so I was hoping to see a little bit more of him than that. But overall, I did really enjoy this movie. I would recommend going to see it. I think the action sequences are incredible. The story is pretty good. I love the idea of this guy who has been seeing this condition of his as a negative for his entire life because it restricts so much of what he can do. And then he just uses it incredibly well for this one super niche scenario. And the twist near the end is really good. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. Does it have plot holes? Yes. But doesn't every action movie kind of have plot holes? I mean, you have to cut off your expectations for this movie, just like you would for a lot of big name action movies. Overall, I would give Novocaine a 8 out of 10 and would recommend people to go and see it, especially if you enjoy an action movie. The next movie on my list is The Electric State. The Electric State is a Netflix movie with Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt as the lead actors in it. And honestly, I was impressed by this one a bit. So I was pleasantly surprised by Millie Bobby Brown. I've only ever seen her in Stranger Things and in Enola Holmes, and she did a great job in this movie. Not that she didn't do well in those other two projects, I just didn't know what to expect out of her. Chris Pratt did pretty well. He kind of played the character he plays in a lot of movies. He had a very Star-Lord vibe to him, and honestly, for that, he did a good job with it. I like Chris Pratt's sense of humor, and I think he did well with what he was given. I loved the robot sidekick in the movie. That was really cool. I don't want to spoil much, but he was a cool feature or a cool part of this. Seeing some of the mascots in the movie was really cool. So you got to see Mr. Peanut. There was a giant Sonic the Hedgehog. You got to see the mascot of the Cincinnati Reds. There were some cool little nods in there. So seeing the mascots was really cool. The world building was decent. I liked the idea that this happened after a war between the robots and humans. That's not even a spoiler. It is said pretty early in the movie. But overall, I couldn't get hooked on the storyline. I didn't care much about the main villain. And I think um, the actors did great. Stanley Tucci did well in his role. Uh, Gia, Giancarlo Esposito always does well as a villain. Like, he's always going to knock it out of the park. And then the voice acting in this movie was pretty solid. You had Anthony Mackie in there as Harmon. That was really cool. Um, Alan Tudyk is in this as Cosmo. Hank Azaria is in this. Like, there's just really big names in this movie that I wasn't expecting to hear their voices. So that was really cool. Even Rob Gronkowski is in this movie. So just really sick cameos, or not even cameos, really sick voice acting from some of these guys. Jenny Slate's in it, Woody Harrelson. Like, there's just bigger names in this than I expected. Overall, I think this is a really fun movie to watch on like a night in, and I would give this a 7 out of 10. I think it was good enough to watch it, and I really enjoyed myself during this movie. So I think it deserves a pretty positive rating. Now to the movies that have not come out in 2025, but I recently watched. I think both of these within the last few days. And both of these because they got added to streaming services. So the first one I wanted to talk about is Hereditary. Hereditary is one of the most polarizing films I have ever heard of. So, to a lot of people, this is the greatest horror movie to ever exist. It is supposed to be one of the greats. To other people, it's awful. And I don't see a lot of people in between. The people with opinions on this movie are to the extremes most of the time. I did really like the acting in this movie. The actors did a great job. I do think the movie was overly complicated, and it seems like a movie that people will say you didn't understand if you don't like it. And I don't like that. I want to be scared. And I don't think this was necessarily a scary movie. Most of the scenes that people talk about in reference to this movie are more about shock value. Something very gory happens, something out of the blue happens, but the plot is really hard to follow. And a lot of the movie just doesn't make sense until you take time to study it. And I don't appreciate that. I want the movie to just scare me. And that is a not so great take by me. And I understand that. But I didn't like this movie. I would go as far to say as I might have hated this movie. Part of that is I had high expectations for this. I've always heard how great Hereditary was, and it kind of fell flat for me. So overall, I would give Hereditary a 3 out of 10. Now, to the last movie that I watched, Trap. So Trap is an M. Night Shyamalan movie about a dad who goes to a concert with his daughter, a very Taylor Swift-esque concert. And it turns out the concert was put on to catch a serial killer. And surprise, surprise, the dad is the serial killer. So Josh Hartnett, I'm hoping that's how you say his name. I'm so bad with names. Did incredibly well in this movie. He plays the dad, aka the serial killer, and he does a really good job playing a serial killer. He gives off that like calculated vibe that his character is supposed to have. The character makes some very interesting choices. The idea behind this movie was really good. Pretty much, a guy who is a serial killer in his off time is hiding it very well from his family and is outsmarting the police at every turn. Now, I liked the actress that played the singer also. Overall, I think this movie was okay, but the ending of the movie was very disappointing. I didn't like the very end of the movie. I think the twist was completely unnecessary, especially for a movie that probably won't get a sequel. It ends on a cliffhanger. I won't say much more than that. And overall, I think the movie just, the longer it went, the less I cared about the movie. So I wasn't a huge fan of Trap. Also, though, I'm not a huge fan of M. Night Shyamalan, so I might be a little bit biased in this review. I can't think of an M. Night Shyamalan movie I have enjoyed. Let's Google M. Night Shyamalan and see if there's anything I can find that I liked. Okay, Glass and Split were okay. I don't think Split was as good as everybody says it was. I think it's a little overrated. I understand McAvoy does an incredible job as the main character, but I think it was a little overrated. Knock at the Cabin was okay, just wasn't amazing, didn't blow me out of the water or anything like that. Blow me away. Is blow me out of the water a phrase? The Village was not very good. Signs was eh. It was okay. Unbreakable was okay. The Sixth Sense was good. I didn't realize that was M. Night Shyamalan. I liked The Sixth Sense. Overall, not a fan of the director at all, so I think that probably has something to do with my review. I didn't know he did After Earth, which is also not a good movie, so not an M. Night Shyamalan fan, so take my review as you will. But those are my reviews for these 4 movies. So Novocaine, I think, is an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the movie. The Electric State is a 7 out of 10. It was a really fun movie, I just didn't love it as much. Hereditary is a 3 out of 10. I really did not like the movie. And then lastly, Trap is a 5 out of 10 because I think the concept was really good. The main actor did a great job, but overall, the movie just kind of fell flat for me, especially near the end. It just lost steam. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like the video, please leave a like. If you disagree with me on anything, leave a comment. If you agree with me on anything, leave a comment. A lot of the times, my movie opinions are not very well received, and I'm okay with that. I don't do a lot of movie reviews, but sometimes I will for like a Nat News episode and stuff like that. So just strap in if you want to see more stuff. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when videos are released. And until next time, guys, peace.